Welcome to Object-Oriented Programming course. In today's lecture, we will study the basic concepts of object-oriented programming. In previous lecture, we learned the differences between function-oriented design and object-oriented design. In function-oriented design, we were trying to identify the functions involved in the problem. For the banking problem, we identified withdraw, deposit, transfer as three major functions of that problem. Based on these functions, we were modeling the problem in function-oriented design. In object-oriented design, instead of identifying the functions, we were trying to identify the objects involved in that problem domain. So in the banking example, customer, money, and account were the three objects we identified to model the problem. So now we are going to understand the details of each of the basic concepts in the concepts of object-oriented design. In object-oriented design, the implementation of a software is based on the concepts of objects. This approach is very close to the real-world applications. The concepts what we are going to study in today's lecture are objects, class, polymorphism, encapsulation, inheritance, and abstraction. We will study each of these in detail. Let us study class and object. A class is a blueprint or prototype from which objects can be created. A class is a generalized description of an object. There is no physical existence for the class. It is a generalized description. Acts as a type or category. Whereas an object is an instance of a class. Objects are real-world entities that has their own state and behavior. An object has physical existence. Now let us consider this first diagram. In this diagram, we have a class dog. This is not a physical dog. This class represents a generalized description of a class of a dog. Here, this dog is having properties like color, eye color, height, length, weight, and methods or behavioral aspects like stiff, sit, lay down, shake, come. All are the generalized description of the class dog. Now, we have an object Bobby. Bobby is a specific dog of type, this generalized description, and Bobby is a physically existing dog. We are talking about a particular dog that is nothing but the instance of the class dog. For this dog Bobby, this is having its own properties, like it is having a particular yellow color, eye color is brown, it is having its own details and its own behavior. That's what we are telling. Class is a generalized description which is not having any physical existence, whereas object is an instance of the class. Object is a physically existing thing. Let us consider another example. Here we have a class for car. This class is having its own data members like model, color, brand, etc. And there are methods to model the behavioral aspects like speed, size. And now we have specific cars. We have one Ertiga car, we have one XUV, so on. We have specific instances of the class car are there. Each cars are actually physically existing specific instances of the type car. So this is the concept of class and object. Let us study another example. Here we have a generalized description that is nothing but a class for students. So this class is having name, roll number, then functions or methods like set name, set roll number. So this class is nothing but a blueprint or a generalized description. With this blueprint, we are getting physically existing instances like each student. So from these students like Nancy, James, all are instances of our class student. In this class, state is represented using variables. In this example, to represent the state, we have two variables, name and roll number. And to model the behavior, we are using functions or methods. We have two methods like setName and setRollNumber. So this is all about the concept of class and object. One point what you need to remember is that the methods provided in the class are meant to operate the state or the data elements of that particular class. So there is a relation between these data elements and its method. For each object, they are having their own state and associated behavior or methods which are meant to operate its own data. Let us understand another concept named abstraction. Abstraction means displaying only the essential information and hiding the internal details. It is a process of generalizing things at design level. Abstraction is more at the design level. A data abstraction refers to providing only essential information about the data to the outside world, hiding the background or the internal details or the implementation. Consider a real-world example of a man driving a car. The man only knows that pressing the accelerator will increase the speed or applying the brake will stop the car. He need not know all the internal implementation details of a car. Abstraction is all about showing the necessary details. Let us consider the case of a car, where the car is provided with the abstract interfaces like steering wheel, clutch, brake, accelerator, and gear knob. So based on these abstract interfaces, a driver can operate the car. He need not know all the internal details, how the engine is working or how the internal implementations is not a concern for the driver. He has to know how to use the abstract interfaces provided by the car manufacturer. This abstraction is at design level. Imagine that the car company is going to provide an automatic car. In that case, the company will provide abstract interfaces like steering wheel, brake, and accelerator. No need for clutch because it is automatic. That's how this. So the abstraction is more at the design level, and it is deciding what are the necessary means interfaces to be exposed to the user or to the outside world. There is another concept called encapsulation, the wrapping up of data or the variables and functions that operate on the data into a single unit called class is known as encapsulation. Just imagine the diagram of a capsule. Within the capsule, there are a lot of granules. Okay, we'll come to that example. So the encapsulation is also called information hiding. It hides the internal representation or state of an object from outside through the access modifiers, private or public. Here also we are hiding unnecessary details at implementation level. Encapsulation is more at implementation level. This part you can see the way of representing an encapsulation in a programming language. In a class, there will be data members and methods. We are bundling the data members and methods into a single unit called class. So if you see the example of the capsule, within the capsule there will be variables or data members and there will be methods. You are bundling everything as a class. And regarding the information hiding, within the encapsulated class, there will be private members and public members. Private members are having restricted access from outside class, and public members can be accessed from anywhere. So encapsulation provides wrapping up of data and functions into a single unit, and it provides the ability to hide the unnecessary details. The protection of data from accidental corruption by means of access specifiers. It provides security, flexibility and extensibility of the code and reduction in complexity. Encapsulation of a class can hide the internal details of how an object does something. Encapsulation protects abstraction. Okay, we learned two concepts, abstraction and encapsulation. Encapsulation is at the implementation level where you are hiding the things which are not necessary by means of access modifiers. Let us consider the case of a car. For a car, there are engine, a lot of internal things are there: exhaust system, piston, crankshaft, gas turbine, flywheel. All these things are hidden or protected from the outside world by means of the body. So these things are protected or hidden from the outside world or from the public. So this is encapsulation. Whereas in the case of abstraction, we were revealing the necessary standard interfaces to the outside world. Here we are securing the things by protecting the access. That is encapsulation. In this example, certain features are hidden from the outside world by means of access specifiers. That is encapsulation. And we have bundled data and associated functions into a single unit called class. So this is all about encapsulation. Here we have a comparison between abstraction and encapsulation. Abstraction is a general concept formed by extracting common features from specific examples, or that act withdrawing or removing something unnecessary. Encapsulation is the mechanism that binds together the code and the data it manipulates and keeps both safe from outside interface and misuse. Outside interference. Okay. You can use abstraction using interface and abstract classes. That is, in the programming language, you can achieve the abstraction feature by means of abstract classes or interface. Encapsulation is achieved by means of access modifiers like private, protected, public, etc. that we will study later. Abstraction solves the problem in design level. Encapsulation solves the problem in implementation level. For simplicity, abstraction means hiding implementation using abstract class and interfaces. For simplicity, encapsulation means hiding data using setting access specifiers. Okay, one is securing the data by means of access specifiers, that is encapsulation. Abstraction is the design level action where you are deciding the features to be exposed to the outside world. In the case of the car example, using the bonnet you can hide and secure the engine and the associated components from the outside world. You are securing by means of providing an access protection. That is encapsulation. Abstraction is the way by which you are providing certain standard interfaces to the driver so that the car driver can operate the car by using these standard interfaces like accelerator, brake, clutch and gear knob. So one is all about showing the necessary things. Encapsulation is all about hiding the unnecessary complexity or the internal details by means of access protection. Inheritance is another important object-oriented concept where it is nothing but the capacity of a class to derive properties and characteristics from another class. Inheritance is the process by which object of one class can acquire the properties of another class. Let us see the example. Here we have father and son. The son is a derived class. The father is a base class. Son is deriving properties from its father. That is nothing but the typical way of inheritance. The base class is the parent class is the class whose properties are inherited by subclass or child class. So base class is called superclass, parent class. All these are referring to the base class. Derived class or child class. The class that inherits properties from another class is called subclass or derived class. Let us consider the example of a car. Here we have a parent class car. Within the car actually we have implemented a basic car with 4 wheels and basic attributes. Now we are deriving specific types of cars using the parent class car. We are creating a class for race car. We are creating a class for SUV. we are creating another class for an MPV, for a compact car. And for the race car, we have instances like McLaren, Lotus, and for the SUV, we have instances like Jeep, Rover. For the compact car, we have instances or the objects. All the instances are nothing but the objects. So in this example, the race car is inheriting properties of a parent class called car. SUV is inheriting the properties of the parent class car. Even compact car is also inheriting properties of the parent class. So the concept of inheritance is nothing but getting the details or the behavior of the parent class into the child class or the derived class. Inheritance is all about reusability. Inheritance supports the concept of reusability. That is, when we want to create a new class and there is already a class that includes some of the code that we want, we can derive our new class from the existing class. By doing this, we are reusing the fields and methods of the existing class. So the primary advantage of inheritance is reusability. Let us consider one base class which is having two features, feature 1 and feature 2. From this base class, I am deriving a child class. In the derived class, without implementing, I am getting feature 1 and feature 2 because these two features are inherited from the parent class. Now I am adding another feature, feature 3. Actually, I am implementing only one feature in the derived class. Other two features are obtained or reused from the parent class. This is the concept of inheritance. In this example, we have a class for vehicle. In this vehicle, I have fuel amount, capacity, apply brake. All these things are I implemented in the base class. Now, if I derive classes from this vehicle class, for the bus, car, and truck, three classes are derived from the base class. In all these three, the basic implementation what we did in the parent class are already inherited. So the reusability is happening in inheritance. There are 5 types of inheritance: single inheritance, multi-level inheritance, hierarchical inheritance, multiple inheritance, and hybrid inheritance. In single inheritance, a subclass is derived from a single superclass. There will be one superclass and one child class. This is single inheritance. In a hierarchical inheritance, from one superclass, there will be multiple derived classes. In multi-level inheritance, there will be a superclass. From the superclass, another derived class will be created. From that derived class, again we will derive another derived class. So this inheritance level will continue. This is multi-level inheritance. In multiple inheritance, there will be two superclass. There will be two parents for one derived class. So for the subclass, there will be two superclasses. So this is multiple inheritance. Hybrid inheritance is a combination of other way of inheritances, where the notable point is that properties of one superclass can reach to the derived class in different routes. Here, superclass is having certain properties which are inherited in class 1 and class 2. Now class 3 is getting derived from class 1 and class 2. So the superclass properties can reach the derived class in through routes. So this is hybrid inheritance. So support for these inheritance types varies from programming languages to language, that we will study when we are learning Java programming language. Another object-oriented concept is polymorphism. The word polymorphism means having many forms, refers to a programming language's ability to process objects differently depending on their data type or class. The operation may exhibit different behavior in different instances. The behavior depends upon the type of data used in the operation. Ability for the object of different classes related by inheritance to respond differently to the same member function code is termed as polymorphism. See, in real world, polymorphism is happening very frequently. Just consider the case of a boy. In shopping mall, he is a customer. In bus, he is a passenger. At school, he is a student. At home, he is a son. So the same object is behaving differently at different situations. The ability of the object of different classes related by inheritance to respond differently to the same function call. That is the core of polymorphism. Let us consider this example. We have a base class shape where you have a draw method, and you have three derived classes: triangle, rectangle, and circle. In all the derived classes, you have draw method. So when you call the draw method on a draw method with the object of a triangle, this draw method will draw a triangle. When you invoke the draw method using the object of a rectangle, this draw method will draw a rectangle. When you invoke the draw method using the object of a circle, the draw method will draw a circle. That means the same function call is behaving differently depending upon the object type. So this is nothing but polymorphism. There are two types of polymorphisms. Static polymorphism. In this case, the binding between the method call and the method body. Binding is nothing but the process of fixing the method body to be executed to the method call. The binding between the method call and the method body happens at the time of compilation, and this binding is known as static binding or early binding, because binding is happening before the execution, so it is early binding. Runtime polymorphism or dynamic method dispatch is a process in which call to an overridden method resolved at runtime. Dynamic method binding happens when all the information needed for function call cannot be determined at compile time. That is, at compile time we cannot decide which function has to be executed. In the previous example, for the draw function, there are different implementations in each class. In triangle, rectangle, circle, in all the three classes there are different implementations for the draw method. So at compile time you cannot decide which draw method has to be invoked. So this binding, that means the fixing means the decision of the function body which has to be invoked will happen only at the runtime. That is runtime or the late binding, runtime polymorphism or late binding. In the example, okay, let us consider an example. Here there are different cards. In all these cards, one simple functionality to control the navigation is provided, that is the steering wheel is provided. But internally how the steering logic is implemented varies from each car. Depending upon the car manufacturer, one may use electrically adjustable or electrically controlled steering, the other may use mechanical steering, the third one may use some hydraulic concept in the direction control. So how the steering is implemented, that varies in each car, but the functionality provided to the top level is same. That means the same steering wheel rotation creates different sets of operation in each car. Like in the case of a draw method, we were invoking same draw method, but the effect of that draw method varies from class to class. One class was causing it to draw a triangle, the other class was causing it to draw a rectangle, and so on. So polymorphism brings the flexibility to the implementations. So flexibility is the core advantage of polymorphism. The implementation or the programmer can decide how he has to implement the logic of that particular function. To the outside world, function remains same. It is just the steering wheel. But the car manufacturer can decide how he has to implement his steering wheel internal details. Another common example is operator overloading. We have one plus operator. When you use this plus operator with two integers, it will act as addition. When you use the plus operator with two strings, minor plus PQR, MNR plus PQR, it is acting as a string concatenation. So the operation or the function is same, but the effect is different. That is polymorphism. Now, there are different relationships among the objects of the different classes. Association, composition, and aggregation are three prominent things what we want to refer now. Association is a relation between two separate classes which establishes through their objects. Association can be one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-one, and many-to-many. In association itself, there are different aggregation is there and composition is there. Both are associations but specific types. Composition, it represents part of relationship. In a composition, both entities are dependent on each other. When there is a composition between two entities, the composed object cannot exist without the other entities. It is part of relationship. A person is having different body parts like head, hand, leg. A person without head is meaningless. So the existence is dependent upon each other. Whereas aggregation is a less restrictive. A person is actually a part of relationship. All these classes are actually part of person, head, hand, leg. So their existence depends each other. Aggregation is a special form of association where it represents has a relationship. It is unidirectional, and even in the case of composition, it is unidirectional, and it represents and in aggregation, both the entities can survive individually. Consider the example of a classroom and students. One classroom is having 0 or more students. Even if there is no association between, no aggregation between these two entities, these two can survive individually. It is not like a part of relationship where a person can exist only with all its parts. That is the part of relationship. In has a relationship, there is no such dependency. They can exist individually. This is all about the concepts of object-oriented programming. So the important points we need to remember is that inheritance brings reusability, encapsulation brings security by means of restricting the access, polymorphism provides flexibility. For the same draw method, you can have different implementation in different classes, and it can behave differently depending upon the object type. So it provides flexibility. So this diagram shows how these features are achieved in programming language. Abstraction is mostly achieved by abstract methods and interfaces. Encapsulation is achieved in the programming language by means of access modifiers. Then polymorphism, there are two types: compile time polymorphism or the method overloading, and runtime polymorphism. Then inheritance is the parent-child relationship. In Java language, it supports only single and multi-level. We will come to the details in those subsequent sections. So that's all for today's class. Thank you.